Our next unit is about currency conversions, and we're going to talk more generally about converting any unit. I'm going to tell you a method here that works on converting any unit, no matter how complicated it is. You can do it the same way and not get confused by the complexity of the problem. You can use this method in physics or chemistry or other classes where you need to do unit conversions. It works. We're going to start with an easy example that you might be able to do with the method that you use now. And then we're going to go to a problem that is more difficult and show you how the same method can be used. The principle that we're going to use is we're going to always take the original quantity and multiply it by 1. We're just going to multiply it by 1, and if you multiply any quantity by 1, you get the same thing again. But we're going to multiply by a special value of 1. The value of 1 that we're going to multiply by is going to change the units from the units that you have now to the units that you want later. So here we have a units table, which is going to help us with the conversion. Okay, we're going to use this conversion right here. We want to change 1 kilometer to something centimeters. How many centimeters is that? So we're going to multiply by 1. Okay, that doesn't seem to help anything. But what if we multiply by a special value of 1? What if we multiply by 1, which has, let's see, 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. So if we put 1 kilometer on the bottom and 1,000 meters on top, then that's the same thing as 1, right? Because 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. It says so right here. So instead of multiplying by 1, we're going to multiply by 1,000 meters times 1 kilometer. Okay? And you can see that 1 kilometer divided by 1 kilometer, it cancels out. Now we're closer. Now we have meters instead of centimeters. What can we multiply by to get rid of these meters and get centimeters? Well, let's see. The relationship between centimeters and meters is here. So if we divide by 1 meter, we can get rid of that meter. And on the top, we'll put the other quantity, which is the same, this equivalent quantity. Let me write that down again. So we have 100 centimeters on top and 1 meter on the bottom. We can cancel out these meters. And so we're left with centimeters on top. So now all we do is multiply what's left. The ones you don't have to multiply, right? Because multiplying by 1 and dividing by 1 doesn't do anything. You have 1,000 times 100. That will give you 1 with 5 zeros, which is 100,000 centimeters. Okay? So we've just found that 1 kilometer equals 100,000 centimeters. All right. So you probably could do that using whatever method you've used up until now. Let's do something more difficult. Now we're going to convert 5 feet squared per second, which is something that doesn't even seem to make sense. And we're going to convert it to centimeters squared per second. Okay. Now, this is pretty hard to do with whatever method you're going to use, but with this method, it's equally as easy. We're just going to keep multiplying by 1 until we get centimeters squared per second. And the first thing, you can see that the seconds, we already want these, so we're going to keep those. We've got to get rid of the feet. How do we get rid of feet? We're going to divide by something foot. And then on the top, we're going to have something else. Maybe we can't get centimeters right away. Maybe we can. Okay? Let's look. What are our options here? Our options are, let's see, 1 foot equals 12 inches. Is there anything else? 3 feet equals 1 yard. Let's use 1 foot equals 12 inches, because once we have inches, then we could get to centimeters. Okay, so we'll put 1 foot equals 12 inches. Okay? But we have feet squared. Feet squared is feet times feet. And we're only dividing by 1 of these feet. So actually we need to divide again by another foot and 12 inches, because we need to get rid of both of these feet. Okay, so we'll get rid of both of these feet by multiplying twice by 12 inches per 1 foot. Okay, now we're still not there yet because we need centimeters squared, not inches squared. So how do we get rid of inches and get centimeters? We can use this relationship here. So we're going to multiply by, we want to put inches on the bottom, 1 inch. And on top we want to put centimeters, 2.54 centimeters. Okay? And that'll get rid of that inches. Oh, but we still have this inches, so we need to multiply one more time by the same thing. 2.54 centimeters. And then that will cancel out with that. Okay? And now we have the correct units remaining because we have centimeter here and centimeter here. Multiplied together, we get centimeters squared. But what's the quantity of centimeters squared per second compared to 5 feet squared per second? Well, we're going to take all the numbers that remain and we're going to multiply them together. So there's 5 there, 12, 12, 2.54, 2.54. Okay? And the rest of the numbers are all 1, so that doesn't matter, right? So now, you're going to take out your calculator. Okay, and I'm just going to move this aside here so that we can see the calculator. And then I'm going to clear that, and I'm going to multiply all these numbers. So 5 times 12. Oops. 5 times 12 times 12 times 2.54 times 2.54. 2.54. Okay? So 5 times 12 times 12 times 2.54 times 2.54 is 4645.152. So the number of centimeters squared per second in 5 feet squared per second is going to be 4645.152 centimeters squared, centimeters per second. And that was a pretty complicated problem, but you can see that we did it just as easily as we did the first one, which is why this method works well, okay? It's a method where you'll never make the mistake of putting inches on top instead of inches on bottom, or feet on top instead of feet on bottom. It always tells you which way is the correct way.